Welcome to the Insurance Wise Guys podcast. My name is Mike Lewis, insurance agency owner of Archibald & Lewis Insurance, and your insurance wise guy. Today's episode of Know, Like, and Trust, I have Ryan McAfee, the VacMan, VacMan air duct cleaning. Everyone help me welcome a man that just a few years ago moved back to his hometown and even to a family homestead here in Bluffton. When he moved, he brought a great big truck with him. You may find him in your garage or basement, maybe even under the house, and every once in a while on top of it. Let me introduce to you Ryan McAfee of VacMan Air Duct Cleaning. Ryan, how is it going?
It's going well.
Yeah?
I'm actually pretty excited to be here. This is fun.
I'm honored. I'm honored, buddy. Before we get started, I have just a few questions I've been asking people. Are you an iPhone or an Android guy?
I use the iPhone.
iPhone. We are on the same page. I love it. Tell me the last app that you downloaded.
That's a good question. It's probably been a while, but I think it was probably the Fox Sports app, so that I could watch some college football or college basketball on my phone. So that was probably it.
So for me, the last app that I downloaded, and I don't know if I shared this on social media or not, was called Reface. So I turned myself into Harrison Ford. I turned myself into the elf. I liked it.
Nice.
I liked it. Okay, last thing about phones. If you can only keep 3 apps that are on your phone right now, what's your top 3?
I would definitely say the weather app. I use the Wayne 15 weather app. The other one I would say would probably be my work app, which is called House Call Pro.
Nice.
Kind of have to have that. The other one probably that I use most frequently would probably just be my email. So I guess that's probably not really an app, but it's
email. I think email's an
Gmail,
app.
yeah.
I think we go with that.
Yeah. So that would probably be my, from a practical standpoint, that would be my top 3.
All right. Excellent. All right. Turn back the clock with me. Tell me about. I want to know VacMan before you became the VacMan. I want to know where you came from. Start whenever or wherever you like, and just tell me from there and bring me up to speed today.
Okay, well, I guess from a personal standpoint, 11 years ago, married my wife up in South Bend. That's where we met. When we got married, I was actually working as a personal trainer at a fitness center. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Not having any kids. I could do the early morning hours and then go back in the afternoon, and I had the middle of my day free to kind of do whatever I wanted to. So that was kind of nice. But once we started having kids, something kind of needed to change just to be more family friendly. So after I worked at a small Christian school for a few years. So after working there, I made the switch to work with my father-in-law, who runs this company, and so at that point, that's been about 6 years ago now, because I've been here in Bluffton for 4 years. So started working for my father-in-law up in the South Bend area for a couple of years, and then, like I said, 4 years ago, had the opportunity to move back here, like you had said, to run VacMan here. So it's been quite a journey to get to this point. I wouldn't necessarily say that this is where I would have seen myself, when my wife and I got married. But I'm happy to be here for sure. So the business, from the business standpoint, my father-in-law started this business 26 years ago. So it's been very well established. Again, up in the South Bend area. That when we decided to move back here to my hometown of Bluffton, I wasn't really sure what my father-in-law was going to say. At that point, after we had told them, a few days later, they had approached us and basically said, we like having you as an employee. You've worked for us for a couple of years. and they were at a point where they wanted to kind of grow things a little bit more. So they sent me here with the big truck to work here and expand the business for them here in this area. So it was a huge blessing to move back home and still have that job security and stability of basically doing the same thing. Now, it was definitely, there was some ups and downs in getting the business established and started here, and you still have that to a certain extent, but it's nice to be a little more stable now, going on 4 years of being here. So
right,
yeah.
You said something about how you didn't expect that this would be the business that you're in. You know how many people I talk to that end up in a career that they're like, I would have never thought that I would have been here, and
Sure.
It's just funny how happy people end up becoming in something that just kind of fell
Yeah.
upon them, that they were guided along. You also mentioned the big truck again, so let's talk about that big truck, because it's pretty impressive. I mean, when the tops open up and these bags start flying out. Talk to me about that truck and how that truck is different than maybe a competitor's
Sure.
or somebody else out there.
I would say the biggest difference, well, one, it definitely is more expensive than your average pull behind or portable piece of equipment that a lot of other air duct cleaners use. But with that, you have a lot more, a lot better job to be able to do with that truck. And the reason being is because it's more powerful. The vacuum source is usually, from what I've done as far as research, it's about 3 to 4 times more powerful than a lot of the portable units that other companies are using. It does allow us to go a little bit faster as well, just because I don't have to slow down to wait for my tools to be able to work properly. The truck can keep up as much as I need, as fast as I need to go. It also allows us to do not only small residential jobs, but we can use that truck to do insulation removals. We can also use that truck for big commercial duct work. So it broadens the scope of what we can do by being able to do commercial, industrial, and of course residential type of work. So
you say insulation removal. So are you talking like clean up from a fire, like somebody had a fire or a big construction job?
Yep. A lot of times, we get called from restoration companies where there's been a fire in a home, and that insulation will hold the smell of the smoke from the fire. So a lot of times we're coming in and we're sucking it out and blowing it into big bags inside of a dumpster. I was actually just called right before I got here for a job, insulation removal, for a bat infestation inside somebody's attic. So there's reasons for pulling insulation out like that as well. So
that could be a nasty job too.
Yeah.
But that's something that I didn't even think about. I'm thinking about residential duct cleaning.
Right.
I'm not even actually going into commercial, but there are so many other things that you can actually do with that size of a truck. You're not a guy with a shop vac or even a small portable, and and the job, the cleanness of that duct work is definitely going to show because of that.
Right. And with that too, I get asked all the time about cleaning flexible ductwork, and obviously with a truck that powerful, a lot of times people are skeptical as to, well, is that going to damage my ductwork? And the answer is no, and the reason is because I can still, even though the truck is very powerful, I can still adjust, one, how much vacuum I'm using from the truck. I can, increase it or decrease it. But then with the experience of doing this for 6 years, I know how many openings to cover so that I'm still getting maximum vacuum, but I'm not collapsing the ductwork or ripping it up with my tools. It's the experience helps you there. So
yeah, so that's real interesting. It's not just a simple on and off switch with the truck you can adjust. So let's talk about ductwork specifically, because there's all different kinds of ductwork. Somebody might live on a slab where all their duct's in the concrete, or then you've got a typical basement where it's metal duct, but then you just mentioned a flexible duct up in an attic. So does it matter at all what kind of ductwork that you're into? I mean, are there different processes for different things?
Somewhat, to a degree. I mean, it's still, if basically what we tell people is if there's air moving through it, we can clean it. And we've got the right tools for all different types of ductwork. And for the slabs, for the solid metal ductwork, we have tools that are a little more aggressive to be able to clean more effectively. For the flexible ductwork or the fiber board, the duct board that you see sometimes too, we have tools that are less aggressive, that don't damage it in any way, but it still does a good job. And there it goes back to the truck again. Anybody can break loose dirt, debris that's inside of a system, but the key is getting it out once you've broken it loose, and having the vacuum source of that truck is key. I mean, it's a lot of times, especially for like those slab homes, you're pulling out sand and gravel from the foundation of the home, and if you've got a little portable unit, I mean, there's just no way around it. You're not going to get all that out.
Not moving it.
It's not going to, the vacuum source, you can move it, but it's not going to pull it out. So that's the process is essentially the same. We're taking the vacuum source of the truck, at the central location of where the furnace is at, and basically pushing all of that debris towards it with tools that are run by compressed air. There are certain situations where you have to do things a little bit differently, but for the most part, I'm just trying to push everything to the vacuum hose from the truck and taking it and pushing it out to the truck. That's the, in a very simplistic way, that's the goal of cleaning ductwork. So,
talk to me about different houses. So, for instance, you take a 100-year-old homestead house that has had multiple different types of furnaces in it over the year, and it started maybe with a furnace that had no air movement whatsoever. Now, those types of furnaces and ducts, they collected things, and it just sat down there, and sometimes you might have seen an inch or two of thick fur in there. And then you take a house like mine, it's 23 years old, it would have had more of a modern day ductwork. How does someone know that they should or shouldn't clean their ducts, and how often do you think that they should do that?
That's a good question. Most of the homes that I clean have never been done. I say 80 to 85% have never been done. And those old farmhouses, those are my favorite because they're always challenging. It's not those are the ones that we say is set us apart. If it was easy, anybody could clean ductwork, So the farmhouses are fun because they've usually been added onto, and ductwork is just going everywhere. So you really have to. It's a puzzle. You have to really figure it out. But I would say the biggest indicators for whether you or not you think your home would need it would be the amount of dust in the home. A lot of times people are calling me because there's I dust one day and then 2 days later I need to dust again. We can help with that. The other thing that I usually tell people to check is your filters. How quickly is your furnace filter getting dirty? If it's after 3 to 4 weeks, if it's got a pretty good layer of dirt, dust, dog hair, cat hair on it, that's a pretty good indication that what's inside that ductwork needs to be taken care of. If you've done a remodeling project, and I've even done some brand new homes where the furnace is running as they were doing drywall work, or they're cutting out rough openings for registers or electrical, and all of that stuff ends up falling down into the ductwork. So that would be another reason. if you've put in a new furnace. The newer furnaces move a lot more airflow than older furnaces. So again, anything that's inside the ductwork is going to get disturbed a lot easier. And we work for some heating and cooling companies almost as a warranty for the work that they are installing, because if the ductwork is dirty and they put a new furnace in, and they and the homeowner is not on top of replacing that filter, what ends up happening is the new furnace starts throwing sensors. It starts short cycling because not enough airflow is getting through the filter. And I've even seen it where it's completely plugged up a coil because of how dirty the system was, and it's a brand new furnace. And that's the last thing you want when you put in a new furnace, is to have a heating and cooling guy coming out and doing service work on it. So that's another good reason to get ductwork cleaned as well. So those are, I would say, the big asthma and allergies. That's another big one that we have people calling us out about, is for respiratory issues. Those are the big ones there. So.
You said a couple interesting things there to me. One, I hear this a lot from a lot of different people, that I just dusted and now I have to do it again. So that's a good key indicator. If that's happening to you, you want to call it and get a duct cleaning. Another thing is the filter, for sure, if it's that fast. So that's another key indicator. If you're just like, I just changed it, well, obviously it's sucking all the dirty stuff in there and blocking it. So the last one is super interesting, and I've talked to some different contractors and different new homeowners. When you have a new home build or a major project like this, a couple funny things here. Funny, not funny. I have seen so many people on a job site use ductwork as their wastebasket, as they're sweeping up the floor. So your ducts, your brand new home ductwork is going to be filled with cigarette butts and sawdust and drywall dust.
Fast food bags.
Because it got shoved down in there because they didn't have anywhere else to put it, and they wanted to make everything look clean. So that's amazing. So do not think that you have new ductwork that you don't need something like this done. Talking kind of the same question, but dryer vents. That may be something that people didn't even know that you can take care of. But talk to me about how dryer vents, they can actually be one of the biggest fire hazards in a house, for sure. What can you do with dryer vents? And there again, it's the same thing. How would people know that they even need to do that?
Right. I think we did some research on the dryer vents, and I think the last number that I came up with was somewhere around 14,000 fires a year from dryer vents. And so, I mean, that's in what I do. I don't want to say that the air duct cleaning is secondary, but the dryer vents is really of utmost importance, because it's something that most people use every day, every other day, every few days, and if that's not in proper working order, it's a safety issue. And the biggest indicators that I tell people, as far as whether or not the dryer vent needs cleaned, is keep an eye on how long it takes to dry a load of clothes. And not only that, but after drying one cycle, if the clothes are still wet and you have to do it again, something is probably not working correctly. So I would at least recommend that every year get your dryer vent checked. Or every other year, if you have a short, sometimes people's dryer vent goes from right behind the dryer and right out an exterior wall. Those aren't the ones that I'm too terribly concerned about. It's the ones that go up the wall and out the roof that are 10 to 15 feet long, or they go down into a basement and run the length of the home and they're 25 to 30 feet long. Those are the ones that really need to be checked every single year. The other thing that keep in mind is what I tell people a lot is with the lint trap. A lot of people say, "Oh, I clean that off." Well, if you use those dryer sheets, they have a like a waxy buildup on them, and those, if you use those regularly, that waxy buildup on those sheets will actually plug up the pores of your lint screen. So I tell people to pull that out every so often, and scrub it under hot water with a soft bristle brush, and that'll allow the airflow to go through there a lot more effectively too, and help with your drying time. The other thing is I've seen in brand new homes materials used for the venting that are not to code, and a lot of the homes that I go into, there's at least something that's not to code, whether they're using the wrong type of transitional piece behind the dryer, whether it's too long. And we're certified through a chimney sweep organization that does dryer venting, that we know all of the codes for Indiana and national codes, and one other thing that we do whenever we clean a dryer vent is we do before and after testing as much as possible. So we measure the amount of airflow that's the dryer is putting out before we clean it, and then after. So it gives us a good baseline for future reference, and coming up with kind of a frequency of cleaning plan for the homeowner. Now, sometimes if the dryer vent is venting out on a 2-story roof, I'm not going to climb up there and take an air reading, for insurance reasons. But as much as possible, we like to take those baseline tests. Again, just more information to give the homeowner to kind of help.
Are you taking a temperature check or an airflow, pressure?
It's an airflow reading. So what it reads is the amount of airflow in feet per minute coming out of the dryer vent. So I can take a temperature reading with the tool that we use, but I'm not a dryer service tech, so I don't really know what that should be. That's I leave that to the appliance guys.
It sounds obvious, though, if you're taking a pressure and that pressure is freer or less restrictive, that you did your job.
Right. Exactly.
There for sure.
Right.
There for sure. I know every situation is going to be different. Every house, because you are going to have some that go right through a wall and some that go through a roof. But tell me, so that people would have an idea, what does an average dryer vent cleaning cost?
An average cleaning, depending on location, it's dependent on your location as far as what city you're in, and then the length of the dryer vent. But I mean, really, you're anywhere from 125 to 225 if I have to travel a little bit farther. But and sometimes they're less than that. They're less than 125. But I would say that's a pretty average range.
And that is not very much. If you had a dryer fire, honestly, your dryer is now ruined. If you had a dryer fire, let alone the smoke damage that would have come into the house for sure. So for safety concerns, that is money well spent. COVID. COVID hit our country about a year ago, and we are well into that now. A lot of us have found ways to adapt to do our job and just to be out in society and doing what we're supposed to be doing. But did COVID slow your business down or speed it up, or did you have to make any type of changes to do your job?
I would say it did a little bit of both. A year ago, when we had the stay-at-home order, whatever it was, we lost some residential work. People were a little skeptical or leery about us coming into their homes. But we had a pretty large commercial job that we were working on that we were able to just devote all of our time to and finish it up. So, and by the time we finished with that, people were kind of, okay, let's get back to somewhat normal, I guess. What we had a huge increase in were people calling us about dryer vents. And I think the reason was because people were home. They realized that it wasn't working the right way, or they were doing a lot more laundry just simply because they were home. So that increased our business quite a bit. We had some commercial work that really increased because they would not bring their employees back until the heating and cooling system was cleaned, and it was kind of a safety reason of having, all of that dirty air that was inside their ductwork cleaned out. They wanted to have the cleanest environment possible for their employees. So that, from a standpoint of that, we definitely increased some business as well. But on a whole, it was kind of initially slowed down briefly. But other than that, it really stayed pretty consistent. So
you just said that the commercial end wanted the cleanest environment possible for their employees, and I can see that, especially right now with everything that's going on. It just makes me think, and it just popped into my head, when someone buys a new house, they are buying all the stuff that the last people that lived there had. Yeah. So all of their own germs, their own habits, whether they were smokers or pet owners, all that stuff is in their ductwork. So if you don't want to breathe everything that the last people, however long they lived in your house, that might be a perfect reason and to get that done at that point, so that you can start in your new home with just your stuff.
Yeah, exactly. and we have a lot of homes that we do for that exact reason, especially for, say a non-pet owner is moving into a home where they had large dogs or cats living in the home and they're allergic to that kind of thing. I can't tell you the number of times that scenario happens. So yeah, that's very, very common. I enjoy doing a home before anybody moves in. There's nobody's stuff is in the way. It does make it a little bit easier per se of a job, because I'm not moving furniture around or that kind of thing. So
last thing about that. What do you think the biggest challenge is in your industry? And I'll back that up just a little bit first, because I see a lot of coupons or Groupons or living social ads out there that somebody says that they're going to come clean your ductwork for $50 or $100 or something, and that's got to grab some people's attention because it's a low dollar, and they're like, I'll do that. I have seen some of those type people, and it literally is not much more than a guy with a shop vac that removes your register, sucks out what he can see right there, and moves on to the next one. Right. No, your outfit actually has cameras on the end of some of your equipment that you can see inside the ductwork, what was there, what you're getting out. So what do you think that the biggest challenge in your industry is when you see things like that?
I would say for this location, it's education. The amount of people, even up in Fort Wayne, that have a truck like what I have is very few. I would say that I know of, I am one of 3 or 4 companies that have a truck that is that powerful to do air duct cleaning. Almost everybody else is using portable style equipment. And you mentioned the coupons. Those guys, this industry is unregulated, which has its pros and cons. But the fact is, you could go to Lowe's and buy a shop vac and slap a magnet on the side of your truck and call yourself an air duct cleaner. And to be honest, do those guys give us a bad name? Yeah, to a certain degree. But I also do a lot of work after those guys where they've come in and cleaned ductwork, and the homeowner realizes that they didn't really clean ductwork. So I've done a lot of work after, very soon after other air duct cleaners like that, especially those coupon people. And I would say, from a price standpoint, you get what you pay for.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's all there is to it. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And obviously, I can say with almost certainty that I'm not going to be the cheapest guy all the time, but I'm not going to be the most expensive either. But when you look at the type of equipment that we're using and the experience that we have, those two things alone, that's going to cost something to the individual, but the value that you're getting is going to be significantly greater. So I think that's what we try to educate people on, is that is the benefits of getting air duct cleaning done and the value that we can provide by doing it. So yeah,
absolutely, you get what you pay for. What is the strangest thing you've ever found in somebody's ductwork?
That's a good question. I've found pack of smokes, a lot of pop cans.
A pop can?
Yeah, pop cans, fast food bags, and those are the ones where it's you've done the job after remodeling or a brand new home, like you had mentioned earlier. A lot of dog toys, a lot of kids' toys. I'm trying to think. Obviously some varmints. Mice, bats, and birds. Find a lot of those. Those would be. No, I've never really had anything that has completely thrown me off.
No treasure, no buried treasure.
No treasures. Yeah, a lot of pennies. That kind of thing. But I'm waiting for that really, random thing.
No treasure that you found.
Yeah, right. Yes, of course.
Well, tell the people how to get a hold of
Sure.
the VacMan.
You can reach us by phone, 260-273-0313. You can also, the nice thing about our website is you can fill out a form online, and you can request a quote from our online, and that's www.govacman.com. Sorry. Again, that's www.govacman.com. Those two ways would be the best ways to get a hold of us, and we can do most of our quoting right over the phone or through the email through the website. So
awesome. So last question for me, duct cleaning aside, if you were paid $1 million a year to do whatever you wanted to do, what would that job be?
Man, I'd say that's probably pretty easy. I would probably farm.
Farm?
Yeah.
High-paying farmer.
Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe $1 million farmer is not in your immediate future.
Probably not.
But if you want a guy that sucks at his job,
that's right,
but is the best, call Ryan McAfee at VacMan. Thanks.
Thank you.